Hello viewers and welcome to a brand new episode of Anzenmezzeron Hell Games, where I will showcase actual plays of Magna Gothica Maleghast. In this episode, Igorri vs Deadsouls, with me as Igorri and real actual human once again as Deadsouls. As a reminder, Igorri is a rather high difficulty house that utilizes mutation tokens and consumes corpses to essentially gain all the buffs and benefits, in exchange for subpar stats for its units. The very basic of strategy utilized by practically all Igorri houses is to prep things up in the first round and then go wild in the next couple rounds and try to sustain it, which is what I want to do here with my Igorri build. Consisted of 1 Chop Doc, 2 Lycans, 1 Strigoi and 1 Homunculus. That's right, I'm finally using a Tyrant. The strategy in round 1 is this: have the Strigoi and my Chirurgian producing all the corpses thanks to new material, Chop Doc further buffing up the Homunculus, and the Homunculus just eats everything and goes fucking wild with the 2 dogs as support in round 2, at least that's the plan. Obvious weakness is that if your opponent knows how Igorri works, they can either just rush you or set up trap against your Tyrant, in which case you just put all your eggs in one basket and it's about to be on fire. The other thing I want to talk about is Mutagen Injector, probably one of the better act for the Chirurgian, because with their ability to generate mutation tokens and turn it into any of the usable tokens, you can easily get strength and consume a nearby corpse to fire the Mutagen Injector twice for 4 physical damage total. That's enough to kill a lot of things in one turn, but you also can't use that in round 1 as you need to prep up first. Also, using new material generates mutation tokens for the Chirurgian too, so I can keep getting strength token. Onto the Deadsouls. Real actual human has 4 sacrifices, 1 Chosen, 2 Banshee, and the Dark Priest himself. As a reminder, Deadsoul is a house about making Great Wall of Damnation and isolating people. That sounds kinda not interesting, but let me tell you this: Deadsoul has one of the best one-soul ability in the entire game, and that's Cyclopean Monolith. Not only can you make a wall spontaneously at the start of a turn, it also has a chance to inflict a weak, which is a part of the Deadsouls gimmick. And Sacrifice is literally named that because you want them to die, so you can keep making wall to mega block people to death. They can also beckon people to move them. That also ignores goddamn line of sight, so the Banshee, which is some of the stupidest hunter in the game, can just wall hack anything to death. Anyway, let's talk about the map. As I said in the previous episode, let's bring in some special scenarios, and this time, we are gonna play in the Thorn Forest, a very normal map, except all these skulls are just a thorny forest that are so cursed in darkness that anybody outside cannot see into or through it, and anyone inside can't see outside too, but also because it's a magical cursed forest, people in the forest across the zone can still see each other. Other than that, it's just gonna be another duel to the death. Needless to say, this is one interesting map, and as I soon find out, it can be very painful too. Also, I finally figured out what is going on with the macros. Roll20 UI is shit and I didn't know you could even scroll down here. Anyway, tick the attack macro for all players and everything should work. Now, let's roll the initiative. And I got it. We both set up our units, and round 1 began with me moving the Strigoi here, who proceeded to vomit all over the place, throwing corpses around the Chirurgian. Immediately, I have made a mistake, and I will tell you why later in this video. Next turn, the sacrifices moved down and beckoned one of the Lycans straight onto some spikes. The special mechanic of the scenario would have prevented this due to the fact that the Lycan is on Thorn Forest ground, but guess what? Sacrifices beckon does not give a shit about line of sight. This quickly made me realize this map would be hell to fight against Deadsouls with. The Lycan then took revenge, moving off the hazard, taking damage in the process, and swiped a sacrifice off the board that also chipped the nearby wall. Unfortunately, this is exactly what Deadsouls want. The hint is literally in the name. As with a lucky roll, the sacrifice has turned into a wall, and next turn, a Banshee moved up and sniped the Lycan through the wall for 2 damage, gaining 2 strengths for shooting through wall. By the way, for sacrifice that have died, they literally do not leave a corpse, which for Igorri, that's very bad because you kinda want that spare part, and if that isn't bad enough, Banshee also just ignores line of sight, meaning this entire map gimmick is completely invalidated for Deadsouls and Deadsouls alone. It appeared that I didn't just stack the deck against myself, but also found out at the last moment that my opponent is also playing Yu-Gi-Oh and they just got Exodia. With no choice but to continue my strategy, my Chirurgian moved up and threw more corpses around, also gaining a bunch of mutation tokens in the process, but I fucking forgot. We corrected this later on. The Chosen then got closer and used Tomb Razor to put wall and adverse terrain right at the center of the map, almost completely blocking half of the map in barely a single round. The Homunculus, after getting all the preparations of putting corpses around it, finally gets to eat. With Sculpt Fresh, the homunculus, unlike the Lycan, can basically get 1 token per corpse, which is a lot when you factor in how many corpses around it, except there's a problem. You see, the spare part mechanic can only be utilized if a corpse is adjacent around a unit, and adjacency means 1 square around a unit, so those corpses the homunculus was on cannot be touched. Which means it only ate 2 of them, which is a sad amount of tokens. It then moved over here in preparation to charge next round, and honestly I should have moved closer with speed token, much closer. This is honestly a pretty big problem, because this specific definition of adjacency is something all other classes do not even need to care about, only Igorri has to, and that's because people can just stand on corpse markers, the only edge case instance where someone have to read the fine line on the definition of adjacency for spare part mechanic. It would be very helpful if adjacency is on the glossary page because it has this much impact. Except also disregard everything I just said because Tom just said this, that 5 tokens should have been mine. The sacrifices then moved down and one pulled the dying Lycan onto a hazard again, and another just punched the homunculus, taking off 1 of its mutation tokens for vitality. The other Lycan then moved left to gorge on the corpses and rolled 2 bloody ones, fail, absolute failure, gaining only 1 strength and mutation token. The Dark Priest then moved down and swung his Doom Blade at the homunculus, taking off another mutation token. The Chopdock then decided its time and married itself to the homunculus. This kills the Chopdock, but granting the homunculus 2 strength, 2 speed, and 2 vitality, an absurd amount of tokens, and then next turn the Dark Priest just put a monolith in the way, and then a Banshee sniped the homunculus, taking off another mutation token. Round 1 ended, and round 2 began with both sides gaining more souls, and already, the map was practically walled up. It really surprised me how fast the Deadsouls can turn a fairly open map into a maze in a single round. Anyway, the homunculus started its turn first, immediately absorbing the sacrifice, which with the form carapace upgrade, this granted it physical armor, which is absolutely useless against Deadsouls because all their main damage source is magic. Should really have picked Ball of Limbs, that would have made things so much easier. Honestly, this was a mistake. I should have just flesh whipped everything to shred and then moved up by force. This will at least keep my opponent's attention on the homunculus. The remaining sacrifices then just beckoned up the other Lycan onto a spike and the homunculus 2 on the spot, which due to the fact that they both are isolated from their allies, with the impending Doom upgrade, they both get a weak token, which they both nullified with mutation or strength token. Also, I have to mention something here because I'm an idiot. In the past several episodes, I used strength but only in a weird way. The token mechanic is like this: for strength, you must discard 1 after dealing damage, so say I have 2 strength tokens, I deal 1 damage to an enemy, I must expend 1, singular, strength token, to make it into 2 damage, I therefore still have 1 token left. Except what I thought was that I have to expend on strength token for bonus damage, and then another for the act of just using a strength token at all, so that means I use 2 for no reasons, a lot of the time. Funny thing is, I actually got it right the first time I played Maleghast, and then someone corrected me wrongly and I just did things wrong ever since. There's a non-zero chance that a lot of people are doing that wrong because of what I showcased with the series, and I hope this can do some course correction. The Dying Lycan started its turn. The Dying Lycan ended its turn permanently. The Banshee then moved right and shot right through a sacrifice, Strigoi, and the other Lycan, dealing 2 damage to both and hurting the sacrifice slightly. The Strigoi, really just out of option here, just flew back and used Sin Eater on a sacrifice, killing it and gaining 1 strength. The Chosen then moved forward, and used the 1 abilities people least often use with the Chosen. Actually attacking someone. Chosen is a great unit for throwing walls everywhere with Foul Monument upgrade, and also for kidnapping people through wall, but they are also actually terrible at attacking people, so you really only need 1 of them. I finally remembered that new material hands out mutation tokens like candies and added them back onto my Chirurgian. Then with Polyglot, the Chirurgian started his turn with a free strength token, and then used wild mutation on the Lycan after consuming 1 corpse, granting it 1 strength and 1 vitality token, keeping it alive for just a little longer. Then he moved down and used experimental surgery against both the Lycan and Chosen, bringing the Chosen to death's door and granting the Lycan another mutation token. The Dark Priest then moved straight through the wall and used Tear Soul on the Lycan, a powerful act abilities that gives the target weak token for every health they have lost, which for the 1 health Lycan, means 3, nullifying 2 of the weak tokens took nearly everything from the Lycan, leaving it with only a vitality token and a weak token left. The Lycan then slashed everything around it anyway. Its first damage did nothing against the Chosen due to the weak but the splash attack killed it, damaging both the Dark Priest and Chirurgian too, worth it to bring the Deadsouls number down. Before the Banshee could move, the Dark Priest threw down another monolith right on top of the Chosen's corpse to block even more part of the map off, and the Banshee just screamed at the homunculus again. This thing is actually taking a lot of damage. Round 2 ended, and round 3 began with both sides gaining more souls. This is a pretty bad situation to me. Both sides have a lot of souls, but the Dark Priest has more offensive soul abilities while my Chirurgian only has support ones, none of which is that useful to the situation I found myself in at the moment. Also, I forgot to move my 1 health Lycan off the hazard, so that thing is going to say goodbye in a moment. Since the Dark Priest was just right there, I thought about moving the homunculus to attack it, except because of the way this map works, it is literally impossible to attack the Dark Priest in any direction at the moment, so the homunculus moved down and struck down a wall to make a path, and then the Banshee immediately utterly destroyed it. The Lycan started its turn, the Lycan ended its turn. The Dark Priest then moved away from his pit, as while he is invulnerable within it, he can't affect anything from it. Once again, he used Tear Soul, this time on the Strigoi, which, as I finally remember, the Strigoi has rapid adaptation, which gave it a mutation token for each corpse it has vomited in addition of the one it gained from the act itself, more than enough to nullify all the incoming weak tokens. The Strigoi then struck right back with Sin Eater, though it missed, and yet it still did 2 damage to the Dark Priest anyway. Then the Dark Priest threw down another monolith, blocking the Chirurgian almost completely, and then the Banshee took another kill. With essentially 0 option left, the Chirurgian had to surrender the match, and thus the game has ended. Gotta be honest, both times I played special scenarios, they didn't seem very fun. Or maybe that's just my luck. Moving on, if you want to go all in on stacking your homunculus like I did, I really recommend Ball of Limbs upgrade so it doesn't get stuck on the terrain due to all the walls in the way, because it will get stuck on them. Also, it might be a good idea to play more aggressively with Tyrant, moving them right in front of something you want to smash instead of playing them conservatively. All your units are expendable after all, and this includes the Tyrant, which can take quite a lot of hits in for sure, and since the homunculus has a healthy amount of starting mutation tokens, even a single vitality can last it for quite a long while as long as it doesn't take too many heavy hits. As for the Deadsouls, I think I said this already, but when fighting against Deadsouls, target the Banshee when the enemy team has it and they will almost certainly have 2 of them, as Banshee is quite easy to use compared to other damage sources in Deadsouls like the Visagist, and probably the Bound Demon, and if you can, avoid targeting the Sacrifice, but you most probably couldn't because they will be in your way. Also, I take my word back that the Dark Priest is a support-focused necromancer, because this guy is ridiculous. Cyclopean Monolith is a powerful support abilities that benefit your unit a lot, but the Dark Priest themselves have a lot of offensive capability on their own too, like Tear Soul to severely weaken your opponent, and the Great Urgle Blade for a lot of damage but only at late game. It's goddamn 4 curse damage, that's ridiculous, but you basically only get 2 swipes of it, but you also probably only need 2 swipes of it considering it's round 5 and 6, add in the Dark Priest ability to escape straight through wall, and they can be very dangerous even alone. Anyway, that's all for now, and I will see you all next time. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell button. If you really want to support my channel, you could visit my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.